Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much for taking some time to join us with our bi-weekly webinar sessions. I really appreciate it. Let's give everybody another moment or so to sign in, and we can get started. Excellent. Well, it's a few minutes past the hour, and I think that we have everybody here who is going to join for now. So let's get started. Again, hello, everybody. And thank you so much for joining our live bi-weekly Canvas and Vision demonstration. My name is Mike Hume. I am the Senior Business Development Manager here with Canvas and Account Executive for small to medium businesses. Envision is an end-to-end solution for creating, collaborating on, and consuming interactive digital work instructions. It puts the power of your 3D models and other critical data sets right into the hands of the technicians and operators who build, use, and maintain your products. And it empowers those teams to complete tasks faster with fewer errors and drive economic gains and efficiencies for your businesses. We're excited to show you the power of the platform and how it can help you evolve from flat or hard copy documentation to fully interactive instructional experiences. In today's session, let's learn about how to update all the interactive graphics and animations in a technical document when a model design changes. We'll also cover collaboration with peers on document changes as well. This is an interactive session, so please feel free to submit any questions you have using the Q&A panel, and we'll take those at the end. I'd like to introduce Ellie Linehan, our VP of Sales Engineering, who will take you through the demonstration today, along with Burju Gajal, who's also on the call for the demonstration and Q&A at the end of our session. She's our Vice President of Customer Success. Ellie, I think that's all I have. Over to you.
Thank you, Mike. All right. I have a little, oh, perfect, no echo. I'm going to share my screen, and as always, keep me honest if you don't see it.
Of course, Ellie.
Thank you. All righty. Well, I'll get there. All right, I'm going to jump to my first slide. All
Excellent. Right. I think we see it. It's the Canvas and Vision introduction. And
yep, thank you. All right, so thanks everyone for joining. What we're actually looking at right now is an EV doc. This is in our cloud platform. So we're already in the Canvas and Vision product. I do want to thank, again, folks for joining. Some of the folks registered for this webinar are brand new to Canvas GFX, so we're excited to show you Canvas and Vision for the first time, perhaps. And some folks have been using Canvas products for decades, so welcome, new and old friends. Today, we're happy to show you what's new in Canvas and Vision. And as Mike said, we're going to be focusing on specifically updating interactive 3D content in a kind of dynamic fashion, and also going through a collaboration workflow to mimic real processes that happen within an engineering team. So what we want to show you, as always, is why technical documentation is a problem worth solving with Canvas and Vision, and how we can help. So before I go to the next slide, I am going to run a poll. So I'll stop sharing. All right, so you shouldn't see my screen anymore. I'm going to launch a poll. So the question that should pop up on your screen is, when surveyed, what percentage of US manufacturers said they have seen delays or errors due to inaccurate, unclear, or outdated documentation in the past 2 years? And there's several options you can choose from. And after a few folks have answered, we'll publish the results. This just gives some context to the problems behind authoring and consuming technical documentation. And we'll show you the results of that. Let's see. I'll give it another second. Right. All right, so we got some votes here, and you should see them on your screen. So the options were 11, 42, 54, and 69%. And we had some answers spread out across the board, but the actual answer is 69% of US manufacturers surveyed had seen delays due to inaccurate, unclear, or outdated documentation. So go back to sharing. You'll see the results of that poll on this screen, along with some other questions that were asked. So the majority of US manufacturers surveyed had confirmed that not only did they see delays due to, as I mentioned, inaccurate, unclear, outdated technical documentation, but they also frequently experienced bottlenecks due to the creation of instructional content. They found the process of managing technical documentation difficult. They see a need for more visual content that's easier to understand for their workforce, especially the younger workforce. And they also have seen inefficiencies in documentation that threaten other initiatives that they have, especially because it is a bottleneck potentially. So what we're focusing on today is really ways that we can reduce bottlenecks and inefficiencies to produce more visual content. So that will be kind of the context of our presentation. So starting off with creation of content, this is just, again, to set the context. You know, young engineers, let's say, entering the workforce, I'll say they have this fantasy, but I had this fantasy myself starting my career as a mechanical design engineer in aerospace, that, you know, engineers are going to spend their time doing real engineering design work, doing deep analytical problem solving. Maybe an engineer spends 90% of their day doing this kind of real engineering work, and maybe 10% of their day is spent documenting it. And this is a fantasy, right? So in reality, what's necessary to get a product, let's say, into production phase is that design work, and then it needs to be documented to communicate it to the people who need to make decisions, who need to run analyses, who need to assemble and manufacture and repair that product. So in reality, it's more like 10% of time is spent doing what we'll call traditional engineering work, and 50% of time is spent documenting that work. So you can unlock the information that's stored perhaps in CAD and communicate that to the decision makers and the operators and technicians who need to understand it. And we can't forget meetings, right? Another 40% of time is probably spent in meetings for many of us. And sometimes this is, you know, we're pointing and waving our hands at PowerPoints with static images, where we could probably communicate the point much faster if we had a more interactive, rich document format. So I will say some days do live up to that fantasy. I have a picture on the right. This is my former colleagues and I seeing our design work actually fly for the first time. And these days are really exciting, but what it takes to achieve this is, you know, turning that idea into a physical reality through technical documentation and engineering communication. So it's definitely an important problem to solve, to make things like that happen. So at Canvas, we do see a solution with Canvas Envision. This is our flagship product. So by improving the creation process and the actual consumption, the actual output format of technical documentation, we can improve the creation time. Even if we improved it, let's say by 10% in this example, we've now doubled the amount of time we can spend in that zone of genius doing engineering work, and reduced time spent documenting, updating documents with instantly obsolete graphics, and perhaps spend less time in meetings because our presentations are richer and more informative. And in reality, we don't see a 10% improvement in the creation, the speed of creation. We see, when surveyed with our customers, 70% improvement in creation using the Canvas Envision platform. So with that, I have one more poll question for everyone. I think I need to stop sharing. So I'm going to launch a second poll. And this one should pop up on your screen, and it's a bit of a softball. It's just, how frequently do you make changes to your 3D designs in your organization? And rarely, occasionally, frequently, or very frequently. Awesome. So I see some responses coming in. There's no wrong answer to this one. Awesome. All right, I'm going to publish the results so everyone can see. So we see, some people say rarely. We have a lot saying frequently, even some saying very frequently. I think, especially in conceptual design, I think it probably realistically varies across the life cycle, how frequently you update your designs. But I think most of us, you're at least updating your designs, with some frequency. So let's go back to the presentation. All righty. So thinking about this, we started with creation, and we're talking about the pains of creation. How frequently these documents need to be updated, how long it takes to author it to begin with, how long it takes then to update the whole thing once again once the design has changed. But Canvas Envision and the problem we're solving is really an end-to-end problem and an end-to-end solution, not just authoring and updating and collaboration, but thinking all the way downstream to consumption. This is perhaps the most important step in the process, because this is a step in which our ideas become reality. By not only authoring things more quickly, but by authoring documents that are more rich and interactive and informative, visually rich, we can put more power into the hands of those at the end of this process, the operators, the technicians who really turn our ideas into reality, who really turn our ideas into value, if you will. I like to say these are the people who make it fly at the end of the day. So I think it's really imperative, and we're a little bit overdue for innovation in this category. And that's what we'll show you today as well, is not only how easy it is to create and update these documents, but how much better the outcome is for the end user, the operator and technician who is accessing these documents at their workstations to turn ideas into reality. So really briefly, before we jump into this demonstration, I'll just reiterate, Canvas Envision is an end-to-end solution. It's a hybrid desktop and cloud solution for creation, collaboration, which we'll show you today, and consumption or interaction. And the real value proposition is the fact that, especially on the authoring side, and then therefore on the consumption side, we're not just a 2D and text, we're not just a 3D. We handle all these formats under one roof. So you can create truly rich interactive documentation using one tool that's really meant for engineering data. That's really built around that use case. And then again, briefly, who is Canvas Envision for? The primary use case that we serve and I've identified is manufacturing work instructions. Because at the features that we have and the features that are needed to create a really powerful, let's say, manufacturing work instructions is a really wonderful match. And there's also a huge kind of value add opportunity at that stage in the process. But because of the nature of the functionality we provide for manufacturing work instructions, we can also serve parallel or similar use cases like maintenance manuals, design reviews, even sales collateral. Anytime that you're taking images out of a CAD authoring tool and putting them in a presentation, it's likely that Canvas Envision would serve this use case better. So that's just to give you some context. So with that, we'll jump into the demo. No more background. So Burcu and I are going to demonstrate this together. So in this context, I'm going to jump into our desktop creation tool. And there we go. And what I'm going to do is go to the page I was at in the viewer. And I'm going to show you a little bit on the creation side. So in this context, I'm going to be a technical writer, and Burcu is going to be a design engineer for this product, which is a shock absorber. So as a technical writer, I've created this 5-page document, this maintenance manual for the shock absorber. And I'll show you a little bit about what I did. So I brought in a 3D model and I manipulated the view.
We still see, on my side, we still see the desktop, the web creator, web environment.
Thank you. Thanks for stopping me.
Of course.
All righty. Entire screen. That's always the safer bet, isn't it? All right. Do you see the desktop tool?
Yes, we do.
Beautiful. Thank you. So as I was saying, I'm the technical writer. I'm in the desktop authoring tool. I've brought in this 3D model for the shock absorber, and I've created an annotated view by pulling out the metadata that's stored in the model. So I'll go, I'll reproduce this table quickly just so you can see how easy it is. So I've created this table from the annotated parts, and I've simply selected the annotation number and the instance name in this case, and I've produced a table. And then I've used some table editing features like color, for instance, to author this, this table for the illustrated parts list. My annotations happened, they're automatically incremented, etc. So let's see. And then all right. And then on the next page, you'll see I've created an animation. So this is a step-by-step guide for the installation sequence. So if I go into edit animation briefly, I promise this is actually as simple, very simple, but you'll see, you can see various keyframes in my animation timeline. I've used the 3D edit tools like translation, and I've also used color effects and the control of opacity to illustrate the assembly sequence in kind of a storyline format. So you can see one by one, my components will be assembled, and I'm even manipulating the camera angle, which is how I relate to the model, to show these step-by-step assembly instructions. And then I can also export this video to an MP4 format to use anywhere else. But there you go. So I've done that already. And then, and then on my next page, the rest of the document, I'm just showing step-by-step instructions. I've imported a single assembly and made different views of it. So using hide show capability in this assembly tree and the ability to translate components and modify their appearance, I'm highlighting the component that's assembled at each step. And then I have, of course, text, a little bit of text living underneath to specify the installation steps required. In the lower left-hand corner, you'll see that I have a QR code. This is a self-referencing QR code. If you brought your phone up to this QR code as we present it, you would be able to launch this document in the viewer. So you can interact with these 3D models. Go to the next page. You'll see, again, just a few more steps in this simple assembly process. And then we see the final assembled product here. So here, I've done my first draft as a technical writer, and I'd like to get the design engineer's input to make sure that the design isn't changing and doesn't need an update, or be aware of those updates. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share it for review. So I'm going to save it and share it, and then I'm going to send a review request to the design engineer, Burju. All right, I'm just uploading the document, and then I will leave her a comment. All right, perfect. So by email, I'm going to share this document with her. And I'm going to say, I drafted the shock absorber manual. Are there any design changes that need to be included? And then I'm going to type her email in. And add it. And then I'm going to continue and send her this review. I could send an expiration and a password, but I won't do that for this. Ooh. Do that with her. All right. And then Burju, if I, let's see.
I can make myself presenter, Ellie, if you.
Okay,
if that's
perfect.
easier
Yeah, I'll pass it to you and then you can take the mic.
All right, awesome. So let me start sharing my screen. I see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. So do you see my email box?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to show you guys the collaborator experience in here. As soon as Ellie gives you a comment through the email, I get an email notification, as you guys see in here at the top. This is the last one that she sent it to me. I can double click on it and I could see the instructions and I can see the activity on the documentation. All I have to do is just click on this button over here. So it will open the document in the viewer. And I can simply look at the documentation in here, the pages that are relevant, and I could see the question. Ellie, which page the question was?
Yeah, it should show up for you now.
Okay, let me just
you
refresh
hit,
it.
Yeah.
I see the share, but I don't see the comment in here. Did you post a comment at the top?
Yeah, you should see that I shared the review via email, and then you'll see in the history that I shared the review with you. Yeah, so just went to your email. Yep.
Perfect. So let me go back again, and there you go. So I can see the activity in here, the updated document that she was showing you guys, and I can go ahead and check on the documentation and see the relevant content. And let me see the comments in here. What I could do in here, mark up this area and give her, Before I give the comment, I can click on the documentation. I can zoom in the area. I can select the part, see the details from the end user perspective. I can go down and see the part number, SKU number, and I could make sure that I'm responding to the right part and internally the right SKU number from the perspective. So I can also click on the part and right click and isolate that part if I need a more detailed look, and I can simply make sure that my response to that specific area is exactly the right one she's looking for. And I can click in here and provide the feedback back saying, yes, we just made the changes this morning, updated version of the model is in your vault. So she gets this similar notification. Since she is the author and the creator of the document, not only she will get this comment through the cloud, but also while she's in the creator application on her side. So Ellie, I'm just going to pass it to you.
Awesome.
I'm going to start sharing so you can show on your end. How do I start sharing?
You did it.
Awesome. Take over.
The hardest part. All right. So, like Burju said, she left a comment for me. I'm in the desktop tool. I would also see this in the cloud viewing tool, where we store documents. But I can see she's left a comment right here for me, and she said, "Yes, we just made the change this morning. The updated version of the model is in the vault." So I was like, "All right." so I would say, "All right, let me make a change." So I can change the status of this, and I'll say it's in progress. And I'm going to go in and change this model, and you'll see that it updates on the fly. So, all right. So I'm going to zoom in and just show you guys exactly what the model looks like now, so you'll notice the change. So if I zoom in here, we'll see. We'll see that these two components are the ones that we're going to change in this design, just so you know. I'm going to go right ahead, exit this, and I'm going to select the 3D model, and I'm going to check for updates. And in this case, I know that I have a new model in a new location under this model change folder. And I'm just going to select it here, click open. And then I'm going to go ahead and do it for all my views so we can see that persists throughout the document. Perfect. Paste it here, save some time. All right. And then if we pay attention to those two components, I have some options when I import 3D models. These are the default options. We do have PMI support here. We don't have PMI in this model. So you'll see all the models and views are updating dynamically. And here we go. If I zoom in now, you can see a slight design change of these two features right here. And then if I go throughout my document, you'll see not only is that simple view updated, but even the animation that I played earlier for you. Even the animation is smart enough to know how to update itself with the new models. And that's accomplished through an intelligent mapping of matching properties from the up change and down change part. And there you go. So even the animation is updated. And if I go next, you'll see these same thing, the step-by-step assembly of each component is also updated. There we go. There's my final model with all the changes. And with that, now that I've made the change, I can change the status to for review. And then Burju, if you still have it open on your side, you can review it and maybe close it if you're satisfied with my change. I could leave you another review request. We could do this live.
Share my screen.
Yeah.
You guys see it okay? So I'm in the documentation and I could see all the steps that Ellie did and see the changes in the document in real time. As her, you guys can see the timestamps in here, and she did in review, and I kind of come here and making sure that the changes are correct. I zoom in the parts and highlight the changes and understand exactly how that affected the documentation as well. And simply go ahead and either put in information if there's more information needs to be conveyed, or simply close the comment section so the end users or other stakeholders go to the documentation could see this process and understand that we have done the related changes, and they make sure that everything in the document lifecycle is completed in terms of the design changes for this subcomponent.
Yeah, and if you reopen that, you will still see the changes in the document because it's saved now. There it is. I think just because you had it open.
Yeah, let me refresh
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, still
Quickly.
uploading. Takes just a second.
On the left-hand side, you guys can also see the review, the history of the documentation, sharings, and the email notification that once involved in the documentation can also be turned off if you guys are not in the relevant projects anymore. So now we could see the design changes from the other perspectives as well. Let me just click on the comment one more time to show you guys the change that is now is approved and closed both by the creator of the content as well as the systems engineer or the design engineers that are involved in the process.
Awesome.
I'm going to stop sharing.
So we're ready to publish.
Okay. I'm just going to, did I stop sharing? I think I did, right?
You did.
Okay. Perfect.
All right, so I'll share. All right. And now you can see I did a reload, and then I can see that this comment is closed, and I just saved it while Burju was sharing. So what I can do is I can jump into my environment here, and I will reopen this to make sure I have, and I will unlock it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish another version of this document. So right now we're in a workspace, which is essentially the draft location for authoring documents. And we have a concept of a library, which you could name a different name if you wanted to, but the library is where we have our published documents, which are version controlled and can also have permanent links. So the latest draft is always at the same location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and publish this document. Publish. And I'm going to select my library center. And I'm not going to remove anything, though I could if I wanted the end user to have some kind of limited control of this document. And I want to update an existing document rather. I'm not going to remove anything. And I'm just going to search it. I know this is part of the name. So this is our webinar presentation. So I'm going to create a second version of this document. So I'll call it 2.0.0. And then I'll publish it. And then once it's published, it'll be in the library. And my end user, oops, sorry. Again, I'll just search based on that text search. And we'll see, here's my document. It's being published right now. So it'll just take a second. And you can see there's the version history of this document, version 1 and version 2 with that design change that we just updated. And once it's converted, I'll have the option to share this in a few different ways. So I can certainly share it to workspace members, which would likely be people who are registered within my own company. On this platform, I can invite people by email. And as we saw earlier, I can password protect. I can put expiration on that. That could be internal or external. I can send an anonymous link so anyone could access it. that still has the ability to password control and expire. And then the fourth option that I have once I'm in the published library is I can embed this EVDoc in HTML via an iframe. So it could live on a website, for instance, maybe an internal website. And then just to briefly reiterate the end user experience, here's our kind of our intro slides. But when we get into our actual technical document example, this is fully interactive for the end user. So let's say they want to do some exploration or interrogation of this model. They can jump to a full screen mode. As Burcu showed, they can isolate, they can identify components in the assembly tree. We have the metadata of the model exposed in the left-hand side. They can rotate, they can explore, especially with more complex geometry. This becomes really important and necessary when we have maybe more hardware presented. Yeah, so this is the 3D, kind of the dream of what we all wanted 3D PDF to become, I'll say, this interactive technical documentation experience. So with that, I'm going to go to presentation mode, and I'll just jump to the end of our slides here. Or in fact, I guess what we can do, there we go. So, you know, what we went over today was really how we can save time from manual processes by dynamically updating our technical documentation with new versions of 3D models. We can avoid passing uncontrolled copies via email back and forth to our collaborators by using the Cloud Envision storage and collaboration capabilities. And the end result that we get out of that whole authoring and collaboration process, which is the rich, interactive 3D technical documents. So at this point in our presentation, we'll take Q&A right after this, but I would just invite you to, if you're so inclined, to take our free trial of Canvas Envision. It's a 2-week free trial that you can download on your desktop and try out that authoring workflow. We worked on visualization with some of the most innovative companies in the world, in the U.S. for decades, and we hope to kind of expand that list to new innovators who are interested in sort of taking that digital transformation journey. So I invite you, you can scan this QR code, or you can wait for the email response after this webinar to give our tool a try. There's no billing info or anything. You just can grab that free trial for 14 days. And with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and we'll see if we have any Q&A.
Yeah, we have 2 questions, and I answered one. But there's another one at the top I didn't see. So let's take a look.
Yeah, so custom sized documents, I think, is the question. Burcu, do you want to take, I think you're...
So my great question. In terms of the printouts, we do have some built-in settings that we could print it out, the documentation. But if you go to the custom settings through Envision platform, you could set up your printer size. Plotters are a little bit tricky depending on the connection that you have with Envision. But if this is something that you want to see in Envision, you're trialing, I know you are trialing, so we could definitely work with you to make sure we set up properly to print it out from your plotter. They are. I use plotters a lot with seismic data, very big plotters, and there's always an error. You print out a couple of copies before you get to the right one.
Awesome. Great.
I don't see other questions.
Yeah, I don't see anything else, so we can just go to the very end. Mike, I'll show the email that people can reach out, but I'll give the mic to you.
Excellent. That sounds fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ellie and Burju, for the presentation. And thanks everybody who joined us today. Just like Ellie had mentioned, if you'd like to find out more about Envision and how you can use its power to help really evolve interactive digital work instructions within your team, please contact us at envision@canvasgfx.com. Also, again, as Ellie had mentioned, we will follow up after our demonstration today to see if there might be interest in taking a bit of a deeper look into Envision. But in the meantime, thank you so much again. And everybody, please have a really wonderful weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
All right, everybody, thank you so much.